AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Our host brings you the leading minds in AI, sharing their story, their success, and their advice. Focusing on fast-tracking you to the top, AI in Action cuts through the hype to help you kickstart your data science career. To listen to the latest AI in Action podcast, head over to www.alldus.com/podcast or subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Podcasts.
You're listening to AI in Action. I'm your host, JP Valentine. Our guest today is CK Sample. CK is the Chief Technology Officer for Hypergiant Space Age Solutions. CK, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. This is great.
No, it's our pleasure. CK, let's start with yourself. Can you take us through your journey in technology? When you first got interested, where you got started, and giving us a quick, timeline of some of the interesting roles you've held along the way, taking us up to just before you joined Hypergiant.
Growing up, I ended up, I actually was going to school for English and art, and I was into fine art and designing things, and all my studies were focused on literature and stuff like that. But I took a lot of different courses in logic and some computer stuff, not too much. And when I got my master's degree in the 90s, the school I went to, Illinois State University, they had a computer classroom that I was teaching English 101 classes out of. And teaching in that environment, I was studying a lot about how to use technology to teach students to write, and different personalities, and how to communicate well with people who are, not in person, and how using things like chat. And when I say chat in that context, it was like MUDs at that time. Like, it was like all text-based terminal, chat, not like, not like Slack and things, and Discord and things like that are hot now. And back in that time, like, there was a lot of real interesting studies about how psychologically there are a lot of personality types that don't perform well in a normal classroom setting because they're shy, they're more introverted, and raising their hand and speaking up in class can be an issue for them, whereas they may feel very comfortable talking in a pure text format. And I think all the studies I did back then, where I was trying to implement technology in my own classroom for students while I was studying English and rhetoric, really helped me understand how to communicate with developers, and how to communicate with different people, and how to communicate remotely. And it got me more interested in tinkering and tech again. And so I was like, I'd say I was a script kiddie light tech hacker for a while in the late 90s and early 2000s, and started writing a lot of stuff, built a couple of scripts, got noticed by O'Reilly Press, ended up writing a bunch on OS X hack series and books with Rail Dornfest, and then ended up being the technical editor for iPod and iTunes hacks by Hadley Stern, who's a friend of mine. And Hadley asked me to if I would be interested in writing for Apple Matters, which was an Apple blog he had at the time. And this was like, I want to say 2004. And so I started writing kind of technical, hacky things about using OS X. I think it was OS X at that time. It may have still been Mac before that. I can't remember. And did that for a while. And my writing got noticed by Jason Calacanis, who's a serial entrepreneur out of LA and San Francisco, who was co-founder of a company called Weblogs Inc., which was one of the first blogging networks alongside Gawker. And he asked me to come write for the Unofficial Apple Weblog, which was a big blog in their network alongside Engadget and Joystick and Cinematical. I went and did that. I became one of the I think I was the fourth most proficient blogger in the network. I wrote across about 12 different sites for them on different topics, just because I'm crazy interested in all kinds of things. And while I was doing that, I was also was at Fordham University and studying literature and thinking I was going to become a professor of English. And I had fallen into a job at Fordham where I was their instructional technologist in charge of helping all the faculty understand how to use technology in the classroom and manning their computer labs and making sure everything was operational there. But that job was very on call, and so there was a lot of downtime where I was waiting on a professor or waiting on a class to start. And so during that time, I was doing my homework, which I read really fast. So I read books very quickly and ingested it quickly, and then I started blogging and was doing that for Weblogs Inc. And they were bought by AOL in 2005, and Jason Canis took a chance on me, hired me full time, and I became the managing editor for Netscape.com. We tried to make it a Dig clone for a while there. We were doing basically social bookmarking network that I was in charge of. I had like a team of 8 developers, and that was the first time I actually managed a team of developers at Weblogs Inc. I had worked closely with developers, but in this instance, the development team was kind of rolling up to me alongside 8 editorial staff, and we were basically, similar to Dig, had social networking with a bunch of stories getting voted up and down. And then when something became popular, the editorial staff would write and do actual investigation around it and add to the story. And I did that for a couple of years, left AOL just because of changes and everything, followed Jason to Mahalo.com, which still exists today as Inside.com. It's changed around a bit. Helped him start that business. Then I went and worked for his business partner, Brian Alvey, at a company called CrowdFusion. We built the CMS platform that powered, it may still power TMZ today, I'm not sure, but it powered big websites, big large-scale websites like TMZ, some sites of telepictures like the Ellen website, and we worked on News Corp's The Daily. At The Daily, that's where I met Chaotic Moon, which was Ben Lamb, my CEO at Hypergiant, his previous company. And he eventually, after I left CrowdFusion, persuaded me to come work for him at Chaotic Moon. And so I was basically CTO at Chaotic Moon, helped build that company and sell it to Accenture in whatever year that was. I don't even remember. Managed to last about 9 months at Accenture before I decided to move on to something else. And I was chief product officer for a HR software company called You Earned It for probably about 2.5 years, sold that to Vista Ventures, was planning on keeping that growing and being very involved there. And then Ben came knocking again and said, hey, I'm building this AI company called Hypergiant. And I looked at the HR software market and I looked at the AI market and I said, oh, that sounds like a win.
Yeah, definitely.
And so that's how we got here.
CK, thank you very much for that background of yourself. I really appreciate you talking us through your journey. I think it's important to highlight another great example of somebody who's taken the non-traditional approach to the level of CTO. And there's many different ways to get to this level, and you're a great example of that. So Hypergiant. Look, there's a lot to unwrap here because you guys do so much, so many amazing things under the various divisions. So to the best of your ability, could you explain Hypergiant, the parent company, and again, give us a little insight into the various divisions and their brief responsibilities?
Right. So Hypergiant Industries is a company focused on space infrastructure and defense. That's our main, we want to solve problems in those areas because we believe those areas are the foundations of modern civilization. And we think there's a lot of value to be created in that space. The divisions that we have, I'm the CTO of Hypergiant Space Age Solutions, which is our services-focused wing. We have the most people in my division because we solve problems for big companies and governments at hire. We're your for-hire solution team that comes in and helps you build a better AI future, tackling actual use cases you have to create value for your business. We also service the other divisions of our company. And we also have an R&D team that is part of what we do that is experimenting on things at the industry level, at the Hypergiant Industries level, that comes out of work that we're doing sometimes is just an idea that Ben, our CEO, has. We built an EOS bioreactor that has 19 sensors in it and can, with AI, grows algae in such a state so that it's offsetting it the same amount as a acre of trees does a year. And so imagine a bunch of those implemented at scale on large factories to offset the carbon footprint of a big business. Can that become its own company over time? Should it roll out into its own division? That's part of the thing that we discover at Space Age Solutions as we're building solutions for customers in leading industry. We identify new problems, new things, and then we start experimenting with them. And if they become interesting enough, real enough, we may roll them out into another division. So another division of ours is Galactic Systems. Galactic Systems is our space division. They're focused on building solutions for space. We have a deploy logistics system for the International Space Station, where we help deploy satellites for other companies out in space. We also deploy our own satellites out in space, and we actually have a proprietary launch bay of ours that's in the ISS, and there are Hypergiant stickers in space, which I'll say again in this podcast, I'm sure. And that's just cool. That's something that I tell my son, and he's like, "My dad works in space," even though I'm not working for the Galactic Systems. I am helping Galactic Systems get the right people on their projects to help build cool things. They also are building some software products, some of which have been in the press recently, that do things like manage constellations of satellites in space, and just tackling some really interesting math, physics problems on what is the final frontier, and an area of great exploration for humanity. In addition to them, we have our Sensory Sciences division, which is where we kind of incubate any sort of platform play that we're working on, as far as something that we think can become its own platform. And it's Sensory Sciences because it's focused on sensors and all the information that can be ingested from sensors. So the first company that it has incubated there and has spun out is Worlds, and Worlds is run by Dave Copps and Chris Rohde, and they've built a very deep neural network that's capable of training quickly on visual data and cameras, and can do some magical things in terms of building a digital twin of an environment with 3D visualization of what the environment looks like, camera overlays of that environment that are live, data points on top of that that tell you where somebody's going in a room, in an office, helps you see through walls, can tell you what all someone saw while they were walking through, in case it's somebody who wasn't supposed to be there, can see if somebody needs a drink refill in aisle 7 of a dark movie theater, like all kinds of interesting use cases for what they built. It's really crazy, fun technology built out of sort of initial experimentation out of our Sensory Sciences division. So, and then we have some other divisions that are on the horizon, but we haven't launched them yet, so I can't talk about them publicly.
There's a lot to focus on just with that. So thank you for breaking that down really clear. But in summary, your Space Age Solutions is the one day to day working with various organizations, and we can't list them all now, but I would encourage everyone to go onto the website, because it really is the who's who in technology, in government and defense, all of which are clients of Hypergiant within such a short space of time. Then Sensory is focused on the visual side of AI, computer vision, and utilizing the here and now and the future. And then Ventures obviously is the spin-off, and then obviously the Galactic division, which is just incredible stuff in this space.
Yeah, and I will say Space Age Solutions, my division, dabbles in all of it. Like in building solutions for customers, we have some of the best computer vision experts working on my team. We have some of the best deep neural network. Like we do all kinds of things, from the mundane sentiment analysis and natural language processing at scale, to interesting chatbots, to really advanced computer vision that looks magical when it's working all in tandem.
The company was founded in 2018. You joined shortly thereafter, and already you guys are up to over 150 people, all on the cutting edge of AI. And you, as CTO, you have played a huge part in that. I would love to get your take on how you guys have been able to attract top talent, maintain great culture, and then also transition into this current state of the future space of work, how you go about maintaining culture, supporting people, fully remote, and getting that mix right.
Yeah, I think, well, the website definitely helps. And what we're working in and the type of things that we're doing definitely helps. Being able to say that we have a deploy bay in the International Space Station with our galactic systems team, and that we've actually launched our own satellites, and that there are hypergiant stickers in space. That really helps. Like, people want to be part of something bigger, and whether you're working for our galactic systems team, where you're actually helping design software solutions to help manage constellation of satellites in space, or you're someone who's working on a front end visualization for a complex data set for someone in oil and gas, because of how broad our spectrum of capabilities are, the person doing the non-space stuff is still involved, aware of, and participant in the space stuff, and it, and helps in our R&D team. Like, a lot of the stuff that we do in R&D is really funded off of the profits that we're making from working in these other areas where we're building big solutions from clients. So everybody in the company feels a part of the future we're building. They like the brand. We're good on swag. Like, we have nice Hypergiant t-shirts that we release regularly. We have a VP of Hype and Culture, who Sean Ullman, who works to make sure everybody's in the know about what's going on with the company, and also helps with all of our outward facing marketing. And I think all of that, like, our CEO, Ben Lamb, is probably one of the best. I mean, he is probably the best CEO I've worked with. I've worked with some very phenomenal CEOs, but he really understands branding and the importance of branding to culture, because it gives everybody a North Star to kind of grab around. And you wouldn't necessarily think that, but it does allow the fact that we have a strong brand and we present ourselves the way we do publicly and internally as a company, helps pull everybody to us, attracts them in the door. And then when they get here, they see that it's a bunch of people that are attracted to the same thing, to building a cool, amazing future. And we're all positively focused on doing that. So I think that's a lot of it. And then the other thing is, we're not limited. Like, a lot of companies limit themselves to only hiring people in the city that they're home based in, or only hiring people in a certain region. We believe in hiring the best talent wherever we find them. And so I've been running distributed teams for over 15 years in my career, and that includes fully remote workplaces like Weblogs Inc. We were all remote. There was no office. Netscape, we had an office in downtown Manhattan that we would go to every once in a while, but for the most part, the entire team was remote. And then Chaotic Moon and Here have both been very hybrid companies, where we have offices that when you go and visit, they're very much alive with the core energy of the company and what we're trying to do. But we also have probably about 50 to 60% of the company that's not located in those locations. And we have multiple offices, and we have Austin, Houston, we have a pod in Seattle. We have people distributed across the US, a few people in Argentina, and some in Canada, some in Puerto Rico, one engineer who likes to travel around Europe and is kind of nomadic, even though he's American. So like that, there's that type of activity going on, and we try to get everybody together whenever we can. Use the opportunity to meet in one place, because it is important to see people and be in a room with people to really build trust and understand one another. But we also are really good at using the digital tools that are presented to us to communicate well over those mediums, and to build that trust and everything, and to build the communication and camaraderie that we need to really execute quickly on some amazing things.
Yeah, and in addition to that, you and I have spoke previously about the focus on ethics within AI, and there's a great piece again on your website. I would direct people to it. The focus on ethics, and then also the focus on a better world. A lot of the work you guys do in the R&D space is genuinely about improving the world, the planet, and it's not just verbiage and talk. You guys are actually working on it, and it's great to see some of the examples that you've got there. CK, I want to finish on getting your take on what's in store. Look, we have have talked previously about AI for good, the positive impact, and Hypergiant are clearly at the forefront of that. So what are you most excited about? What do you love most about your current role at Hypergiant, being, hands-on with impacting AI for good? And what are you looking forward to most about the future of the organization?
Making life better and easier. I mean, like there's so many things that once you start to have them click that we're working on, it seems almost magical. The automation that's able to occur. And I love building things. I love building teams that build things more than me building them myself. But I like being involved in building solutions that help businesses see a real ROI, and help make things better. So the things that we're doing in R&D are all focused to make the world a better place, and we like that. Like we believe there's a lot of profit to be made in making the world a better place, to focus on sustainability, to help companies look at, they're starting to have to face a lot of problems that they've been ignoring for a while, larger companies, in terms of the effects they have on the environment, and how do you handle that in a way that protects your company and the profits that you're trying to make, because those are the lifeblood of, cash is the lifeblood of a company, and revenue is a lifeblood of a company. So how do you feed that without it being evil, and like, how do you feed that beast and turn it towards good, and actually turn it towards something that creates more value for you overall? That's our main focus. So that's kind of a vague answer to a very, like, I'm trying to think about what projects I can talk about that are actually really cool. Like, we've done things like taking a customer's financial data and historical financial data from their competitors, have an insight into their current financial data, and been able to predict within a 97.8% accuracy what their competition's numbers were going to be for the quarter. Like we did that for one of our clients, and that type of thing is a really fun math thing, but it looks like a magic trick. Like once it's done, You're like, whoa, they were right. How did they do that? And that type of thing is useful for businesses to be able to see that sort of thing. So what other things can we do? Like there's a lot of, one of our very talented data scientists on our team, Mark Krukar, he's a guy who's just built us a really amazing computer vision platform that we're using in a multitude of different use cases. And it's something that he's been experimenting with since he got his doctorate. And he actually started out by building an app that runs on your phone. So that's edge computing. An app that runs on your phone and handles AI is edge computing. So we have an edge computing solution that his original version that he built would take a picture live from the camera in your phone of an ER room, and it would estimate how much blood was lost by the patient based on blood visible in the room, and so, and that's using an advanced neural network to train that understanding of what's happening on a pixel by pixel basis and attributing a confidence score to that. So take that to all the sensors that exist now and all the different data ingestion points that you can have, and you can really create a deeply focused simulation of what reality is going to be if you have enough data. And that becomes a really interesting simulation game that a lot of people like to paint in a very scary sort of way, but that's a usage, like, you can misuse things, or you can use things in the right way, in an ethically forward-thinking way, where you're measuring out, okay, these data points, we don't need to store the person's identity as part of the data point we need. What we need to do is we need to identify every gun that exists and be able to tell what that looks like under fabric, and be able to identify whoever is walking through who may have a concealed weapon, because that's a security concern. Some of them may have a reason to have a concealed weapon. They may be police, etc. But having that awareness based on computer vision is a useful use case that could be used for good, and I think that's the The question is, how do you use it? How do you frame yourself from doing it? What data are you storing versus what data are you using just as metadata to better inform the focused outcome that you're trying to get that's going to return the investment that you've spent pushing into AI. One thing that I will note, any of you out there who are listening who are interested in having someone like us build AI solutions for you, first off, if you've not been working in AI at all, you need to be involved in AI because you're going to be left behind if you don't. Secondly, it's not a cost-saving center for your business. And I think that's one of the conversations we have a lot with customers as a services business, where they think, well, what are you going to be able to do to save us money? And it's like, no, that's not what AI is about. AI is not about saving you money. AI is about creating more value that you didn't have before. It's going to cost a lot. It costs a lot of time, attention, data, understanding of your core business problem, and framing that in a meaningful, tactical, how do we solve this sort of way in order to turn meaningful returns on that. And we are very focused on that. So it's all about value creation, not about cost savings.
And that's backed up by the number of organizations who've already entrusted Hypergiant to work on some amazing projects. You've only got to look at the website to see who has come to you guys for solutions, and there's some great examples there. CK, thank you so much for this. Hypergiant sounds like an incredible place for anyone who wants to work in technology, AI. I know from speaking to yourself, you will certainly back that up. I appreciate you giving us a bit of an insight into the multitude of amazing things you're working on. And yeah, we look forward to hearing what else you guys have in store in the near future. So thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Alldus offer an exec search program. Alldus can help you discover how data science and AI can transform your company. With our unrivaled network of C-suite executives and senior AI professionals, we offer retained search services across the US and Europe. Get the Alldus advantage. Become a member of the Alldus community and enjoy some of the following: AI meetups. Once a month, our community gathers to listen to some of the leading experts in the world of data science and AI. Our speakers come from all over the world, including Dublin, Boston, and Frankfurt. We also have our AI mentors. Our experts will provide mentoring to Alldus members. And don't forget our AI in Action podcast. Each week we have guests from all over the world talking us through their education, career, and more. Become an Alldus member and get the Alldus advantage. For more information and to sign up for our newsletter, log on to www.alldus.com. That's www.alldus.com. Alldus International, empowering through AI.